It's the summer of 2024 in a hospital in the Oklahoma City metro. An 18-year-old disabled girl has just become a mother. She shocks everyone when she won't reveal who the father is. And the people working on this case couldn't tell if the baby's father was her own brother or her dad. And what one nurse noticed that afternoon would turn into one of the most disturbing cases this little Oklahoma police department had ever touched. Because the family standing around her bed knew exactly who the baby's father was, and they'd known for a long time. The truth they were all covering for was sitting in a phone, in a search history nobody was ever supposed to see. And weeks later, it would come spilling out in the back of a patrol car when three people from the same family forgot the cameras were running. But it all started right here, with a clipboard and a story that just didn't add up. Quick thing before we go further. This case is so underreported that only a handful of local channels covered it, and even those few didn't get all their facts right. The victim is a minor with a disability, and nothing about the story requires us to put her name out there. She's the only one who did nothing wrong. And there's a version of this case all over the internet that has one fact backwards, a big one. And we will get to it because in this story, the investigation reveals that nothing is as it seems. The Village, Oklahoma. If you're not from around here, the name sounds almost made up, like a setting from a story rather than an actual place. But it's real. The Village is a small city about a square mile and a half, surrounded by the much larger and more populous Oklahoma City. It's landlocked inside the super busy metro on every side. Families end up here because it feels removed from everything. On paper, nothing happens in the village. For a place where nothing happens, it's about to produce one of the strangest arrest videos you'll ever watch, when an entire family ends up in the back of a police vehicle and collectively forgets they're still being recorded. The case that ends with those three people in the back of that car starts with a phone call to a small municipal police department, people who police a square mile and a half of quiet. Earlier that summer, at a hospital in the Oklahoma City metro, an 18-year-old girl had just given birth. She was exhausted, overwhelmed, a teenager holding a newborn she already didn't want to be separated from. She had an intellectual disability, so in a room full of adults talking over her about her own body and her own child, she was the one who couldn't push back. The family gathered around her bed and was giving the staff an account of who the father was. The nurse didn't believe them. It wasn't one thing. It was the way the answers didn't connect. They offered up a boyfriend. Staff asked for a name. The room went quiet. Not the mother, not the father, not the young woman herself. Nobody in that room could produce a single name for someone who had supposedly fathered this child. And through all of it, the young woman sat there unable to push back against whatever story was being built around her. Staff flagged it. It went up the chain and then the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. That's the call that eventually reaches the Village Police Department. When officers arrive and sit down with the young girl's parents, Nathaniel Sr. and Tamika, they are told the same story that the hospital staff had already heard. There's a boyfriend, but nobody knows his name. After all these years of experience, the officer knew that an unnamed boyfriend simply meant something much worse was going on. Not making progress on finding the so-called boyfriend, they call it a wrap. But for only a short time, the officers come back to ask more questions a little later. And this time they managed to get the young girl when she was alone. They assured her that she wasn't in trouble and she would not lose her child if she tells the truth. The boyfriend's story collapses with a little coaxing, and she gives them a different answer. She tells investigators that her father, 66-year-old Nathaniel Molden Sr., is the baby's father. Now, this is where the case becomes a minefield. Incest is a felony, with serious consequences in Oklahoma, and sexual intercourse between a parent and child carries the weight of decades behind bars. If this young woman's accusation was believed, her father wasn't just going to be questioned. He was going to be charged, tried, and potentially sentenced to prison for a significant portion of his life. Accusations like these are not just documented, They trigger mandatory reporting, DHS involvement, and an investigation that can tear a family apart, even if the accusation turns out to be false. And that's exactly what happened here. The young woman, a minor with an intellectual disability, named her father, and that led to a full-scale investigation. The system pursued the clues and also brought Nathaniel Sr. in for DNA tests. The victim had named her father, and as far as the investigation was concerned, the DNA test was going to confirm her account. That's how everyone in that building expected this to go. So they collected his DNA, sent it to the lab, and waited for a result that would lock it in. It came back negative. The lab ruled Nathaniel Sr. out definitively. He was not the baby's father. The accusation that had driven the entire investigation for weeks was false. And just like that, the people who were so certain were left with nothing. The case wasn't solved. It had cracked wide open again. If you think this case is weird, the worst part is yet to come. So how does an 18-year-old name the wrong man for something this serious? The answer was plain as day. A young woman with an intellectual disability in a frightening institutional setting is being asked the most uncomfortable questions a person can be asked, after other adults have already handed her the story to tell. She was coached. And when investigators untangled it, the source of that story landed like a gut punch. It had come from her own mother, who had her suspicions after seeing Nathaniel Sr. leave his daughter's bedroom at an odd time. Now, this was not about to be an innocent equals closed case. While Nathaniel Sr. was clearly not the father of the child, officers found damning proof that he had an idea of who was responsible. Investigators had gotten a warrant for his phone, and they uncovered deeply disturbing searches in his browser history. Amongst them were 2 searches in particular that didn't belong next to anything else. The first, how to corrupt a DNA test. The first is ugly, but it's simple. A man who knows a test is coming and wants to beat it. On its own, you could almost reach for an explanation. Panic, a guilty conscience, or fear of something else entirely. And then there's the second. Do siblings have the same DNA? The second one is the tell. You don't search whether siblings share DNA to learn something about yourself. You search it when you're trying to work out whether a test can tell which of your children a baby belongs to. That is a man who already knows who did it, sitting there trying to figure out if the science can be smudged enough to hide it. So now you have a father whose search history suggests he suspects or likely believes the son did it and was looking into obstruction. You have a mother whose own account says she has always suspected the father of having sexual relations with their daughter for months and stayed quiet to wait for a DNA test. And you have a victim who confessed to being coached into naming the father. So which is it? Were the parents trying to protect the son and throw the father under the bus to do it? Was the mother genuinely, mistakenly suspicious of her own husband? Was this just another misdirection ploy to hide the real culprit? Was the father covering for his son out of some twisted loyalty while the rest of the household pointed the finger back at him? One clear thing was that the family appeared to know something, and each of them, by their own conduct, chose the cover story. After the search history was exposed, detectives immediately collected DNA samples from the only male child of the house, Nathaniel Molden Jr., and sent them to the lab for tests. It didn't take long before the results came back. Lo and behold, the baby's biological father was Nathaniel Jr. The match came back at around 99%. This development led officers to bring him in for questioning, and here he admits something. Nathaniel Jr. acknowledges that he and his sister had sexual contact, but he frames it as something in the past. He says they were caught and punished by their parents, that it never happened again after that, and that, at the time, they were both minors. But the math doesn't add up. The baby was born in the summer of 2024, and at the time of the investigation, Nathaniel Jr. was a few months shy of his 19th birthday. So conception had to have happened roughly in late 2023. Call it 9 months back from a mid-2024 birth. Late 2023. At that point, he was 18 while his sister was 17. This was not a crime of 2 years ago. This is not a situation where both parties were minors. This is recent. And at least one person involved was a legal adult. And the evidence of that Was the infant in DHS custody? There is no version of this timeline that works with the brothers' story. A baby born in the summer of 2024 could not have been conceived 2 years earlier. The math is unforgiving. Investigators reached the obvious conclusion. But what made this case even more devastating was the dynamic at play. Nathaniel Jr. hadn't just had sexual conduct with his sister. He had taken advantage of a young woman with an intellectual disability, someone who couldn't fully understand what was happening to her or push back. This wasn't a mutual relationship in any way. This was the exploitation of the most vulnerable person in that household. And the worst part is that the parents knew. According to the brothers' own account, they had caught the siblings before. They had punished them. And then they did nothing. No report to police or DHS. No intervention to protect a daughter who couldn't protect herself. They handled it inside the house and hoped it would never come out. In the eyes of the law, knowing abuse was happening and choosing to do nothing was just as culpable as committing the act itself. And that's precisely what put both parents in the crosshairs, right alongside their son. The warrants came through on September 25th. 2 weeks later, officers from the village police department pull up to the house to take the family into custody. What played out was one of the strangest, most human, and most unsettling arrests you'll ever see.
Come here, brother. Come here. Tell your mom to come here. Go ahead. Come here.
Mom! Mom!
Hold on. Just relax.
Mom!
Just relax, Nathaniel. Relax. Relax.
The officer is greeted by an unsuspecting Nathaniel, whom he immediately puts into handcuffs. But he's not the first to be arrested. In the police van just meters away, the father is also in handcuffs, watching it all unfold. This 19-year-old who fathered a child with his disabled sister, who is being arrested for incest, calls out for his mom, who also gets arrested.
Hey, Tamika, come out here. Come out here. Hey, Sarge, I got one more. Come out here. Put your bowl down. This is Mom. You want to grab him and I'll grab her? Okay. You mind if I get your cuffs, Sarge? Turn around for me.
What's up?
You got an arrest warrant, so that's why you're going in
I
cuffs.
got an arrest warrant.
Yep. You're Tamika, right?
Ow!
Just turn around for me, okay?
I'm trying to ask how.
I'll tell you. For child neglect.
But child neglect?
Yep. Are your two daughters in the house?
No!
Okay.
For child neglect?
Yep. Headquarters, I got 3 in custody. Come on.
Sir, I didn't
Come on.
I didn't neglect my child.
That's fine. You got an arrest warrant.
The officers are calm and make the whole affair seem like a movie. There's no struggle or shouting as they arrest everyone, one after the other. Tamika comes out to her son in handcuffs and a husband in a patrol car and learns that she's next.
I didn't neglect.
I'm not saying you did, but I got a warrant for you, okay? Got a warrant for all 3 of you, actually. You got any weapons on you or anything you brought? I'm not gonna check you, but I'm gonna.
I just got finished talking to my caseworker.
Okay, well these warrants are confirmed, so. You want me to take it straight down?
The mother's disbelief is almost funny, as she doesn't seem to accept that this is happening fully. She asks the officers whether she really has a warrant. She says her caseworker never told her anything about this, and that she was on her way to the court that very day to get her daughter back. You can hear her husband say something from the back of the vehicle.
Can I get that? I need to call my caseworker. I need to call my caseworker.
I'll tell you what, if you hang out with her, Sarge, I think I got an extra pair in mine. Slide over here for me.
Is anybody in the house? I got all my money in there.
I'm gonna do it, brother. I told you that. Relax.
And lock the house door.
Okay. You want to borrow these? You want me to swap them out now? Okay. Hang on, man. Jeez. I didn't double lock his yet, so him being smaller, you want me to put him in the middle?
Yeah, we can do that.
The officer takes the time to explain exactly what is happening. The family has a warrant out for their arrest, and it is a completely separate machine from the civil side of this case.
All right, so Tamika, so he's got a warrant for child neglect, a felony warrant. You got a felony warrant for child neglect. He's got a felony warrant for sexual something or another, okay? So you all three got warrants. That's why we're here.
Who put the warrants out?
Oklahoma County. They put it out September 25th. They've all been confirmed.
September 25th?
Yes, ma'am.
My caseworker didn't let me know nothing about it.
They may not know.
Right now, I'm going to court right now to get my daughters back.
I got you. Well, that's the civil side, right? Getting your daughters back is Child Protective Services. This is the criminal side. All right, slide over here for me. Come over here.
Hey, Keith, make sure you let one up in the trunk. All my money in there. Keith.
And I wasn't.
You gonna lay it out and lock the door? Okay.
Hey, Junior, scoot over, man. I got to put your mom in here, too.
I've never neglected my child.
And I'm not saying...
Can you push the seat back?
These seats don't go back, brother.
I've never neglected my child.
And I'm not saying you have, but y'all have warrants. That's why I'm out here, okay?
You can be driving to court to argue that you should have your children back and be arrested in your driveway on a criminal warrant before you ever get there. Both were true that day. The officers were impressive in their handling of the warrant. The mother has a broken ankle and requires a medical boot, so the officers go back into the house and retrieve the boot for her. And somewhere in the exchange, it comes out that the parents were filing for divorce that same day.
See, when you're playing for your leg.
Are you going to be able to get in like this?
Her leg messed up.
Okay.
That is her.
All right, hold on. Here's what we're going to
She
do.
got a boot for her leg.
Okay, all right, hold on. Tamika, you going to be cool with me? You've been cool this whole
She
time?
got medication.
Okay.
She got medication she got to take.
All right,
She got a lot of medication.
Hold on.
She need her medication. She gonna need her medication.
Senior, I hear you, all right? I'm being super cool with you guys. Unfortunately,
y'all.
I'm just doing my job, all right?
Look,
Hey, Tamika, here.
I
I broke my ankle.
Okay, here's what we're going to do, okay? Turn around. I'm going to put them on the front. That way you can get in, okay?
Okay.
You left the house.
There's somebody in there to get my boob.
I'll get your boot for you.
Because I can't.
Yeah, I got you,
Hold
man.
on.
Come on. You're walking just fine. We're not going to start this.
No, it's hurting.
Okay,
It's hurting.
have a seat. Have a seat. Back up.
She's doing it. She's not faking.
Okay.
She's not faking. She do it in the
I've
truck.
been walking around all day
Okay.
with my boot on,
Okay, hop in.
getting a divorce.
You see this hand?
We're getting a divorce today.
I'm sorry to hear that, guys.
That talk about getting a divorce will come back later. For now, everyone gets put in the car seat, and the officers go off to retrieve the boots.
She going there get her boot for her leg and her medicine.
Where's your boot at?
It's in
Medicine, they won't give you at county. You'll have to get that at county. It's on the dresser. Where's the dresser? So if I walk in the door, where's it at?
But she
You'll
got.
see it. It's right there.
Right as I walk in the door?
In my room.
Okay.
My room is right there.
If she don't have a medicine, she gonna have a heart attack.
They'll give her medicine at county, okay? Which one's the house key? Anybody know?
The plain one.
This one?
Yes.
Okay. All right, y'all hang
No,
tight.
is it plain?
I have no idea. You tell me.
Let them charge through until you get the right one.
This one.
I'll make sure to get the right one, okay?
You get the right one.
All right, y'all hang tight and we'll get out of here, okay?
Now the craziest thing happens. Forgetting that there are cameras in the vehicle, they begin to talk about their botched plans of escape.
I came by too fast.
I should have left too. I was on my way out the door.
It's my child neglect.
Child neglect.
What do you mean by neglect them and them?
Come on, it's down. It's down at the county.
What county? What county?
Yeah, he says it's down for the county.
He said they got
a felony warrant.
They got a container.
A felony warrant.
See, we should have never came back to the house with you, see, baby. I told you we should.
I would have went to jail too by myself.
No, we should have never came.
We should have came out.
I
I should have been done left. I was thinking about leaving earlier, and I would have
No,
been
no, I ain't
there.
talking about that. I'm talking about actually. No, it recording. I think recording.
It's almost ridiculous, as I imagine this footage would be reviewed by prosecutors. They realize that they might be getting recorded and proceed to talk in low whispers they believe the mics won't be able to catch.
I'm talking about actually. No, it recording. I think recording.
I just got finished. Niggas screaming.
But anyway, we ain't do nothing.
And
I was just come to get my clothes.
and I ain't got my phone book with me or nothing.
I'll come get my clothes.
Because I called Candy.
No, you get a phone when you're to the jail.
But I don't.
We're going to jail.
I don't know her
You ain't taking
number.
them but to jail.
I don't know her number.
For how many days?
I don't know her number by heart.
Till they find what's going on. They got to detain or hold us in jail because they think we behind and we all three working together.
Yeah, he asked me, was the girls in there? I said, no, they ain't in there. I just got finished cooking.
Oh, the stove on. Man, I should never came.
He said it's a felony warrant. Did you call Ring?
But I was
We gotta call somebody.
I was on the phone when they ring. I said, Ring, they come to get me. Ring know they can't get me though.
What she say?
Leave the phone on.
Did you tell them they got me too?
They ain't say to you. They said to you, I got in the car. I said, what you gonna doing for?
Yeah, look, they calling my name out loud.
They think we is corporate or something. They think we quitting them.
So they messed up my record. That's what's in my record.
They trying to get you, or you gonna be able to make your court tomorrow. That's what they did. They know they did that, right?
I'm gonna call my caseworker.
Now, knowing you're on camera isn't a crime. Plenty of innocent people go quiet the second they notice a camera recording. But that isn't the case here. Once you know what the phone searches said and what the DNA said, watching a husband and wife quietly remind each other that the cameras are rolling reads like two people with something they'd badly like to keep off the record. Nathaniel Sr. asks about the bond, and officers give them a rundown of exactly what's at stake.
Well, they got bond on us too?
Mom and Dad, you both got a $5,000 bond. Junior, you got a $25,000 bond.
Oh my God.
I got a $5,000 bond.
Yes, ma'am.
Why you got the bond like that for? For what?
What you asking what the charges are?
Yeah.
So parents got child neglect, and then he's got this with an adult.
He's an adult.
That's what an adult.
It all has to do with that case the investigators were working on.
Oh my God. That's what an adult. What?
I have never neglected my kids.
Look, I'm just the guy doing my job, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I'm not the coordinator.
yeah, he is doing his job. There's nothing he can do.
What?
He's just doing his job, bro. I understand that.
So is he saying I can't get out?
I mean, you
$5,000?
can get out, but you got to post bond. It's usually 10%. So parents, you got $500. He's got $2,500.
Oh, 500 for me, 500 for her.
And it's usually 10%. So 10% of 5,000 is 500.
The couple posted bond days later, but they didn't meet the requirements for their son. His bond was set at $25,000, which was 5 times the amount his parents had paid. So he stayed locked inside the Oklahoma County Detention Center. But the drama wasn't over, as Tamika did something hard to read as anything but deliberate. On the day of the arrest, the parents had mentioned almost as an aside that they were filing for divorce. Anyone would have just filed it away as a lover's quarrel due to their run-in with the law. But then the paperwork actually came in later, and as the case closed in on them, with both of them facing a joint reckoning for failing to protect their daughter, Tamika decided to cut herself loose from her husband legally. Maybe the marriage was already finished. Maybe it was a strategy to distance herself from the man whose search history looked so much worse than hers. But the timing was certainly odd. Now we get to the parents, and to the legal theory that's probably the most important thing in this entire case for you to actually understand. It's the part people find genuinely confusing, because it's what explains how a man whose DNA was just cleared, a man who isn't the baby's father, can still be on the hook for a felony. The father wasn't charged with a sex crime, neither parent was. They were charged with felony child neglect. So, what's the actual accusation against them? According to police, this wasn't their first crime. The parents had caught their siblings before, which the brother referenced, the one where they were caught and punished. And beyond that, they knew it continued over the years, but their response was to handle it inside the house, to punish the kids and to never report it to any authority. Not the police, DHS, no counselor, no one outside the four walls of their home. They handled it inside the house, and life went on. They basically turned a blind eye. And months later, their daughter gave birth. Listen to how the department framed it. This is the deputy chief, paraphrasing the reading reported by local news. The charges were filed because there was no intervention to protect a child who, in his framing, couldn't fend for herself. Even as it became evident that their daughter was pregnant, they still kept it a secret and tried to cover up the crime. The law in many states, and Oklahoma is one of them, recognizes that a person responsible for a vulnerable child can commit a crime by not just doing harm, but allowing it. Think about that for a second. If you know, or honestly, if you even have any real reason to suspect that a child you're responsible for is being abused, and you just keep it to yourself, that's a crime all on its own. There's even a name for it. It's called failure to protect. And it exists for exactly this kind of situation, where the people closest to a victim aren't necessarily the ones whose hands did the harm, but they saw it, understood it, and chose to stay quiet, which, when you actually say it out loud, is wild. The court case came by very quickly. While all three of them initially pleaded not guilty, as the case progressed and evidence piled on, they modified their plea to guilty. Starting with the mom, Tamika, who was charged with felony child neglect. She eventually pleaded no contest, and the court handed her 7 years, but the sentence was deferred, which makes all the difference. A deferred sentence means those 7 years don't actually put her behind bars. Instead, they hang over her while she's under supervision. As long as she follows every condition, she never serves a single day. Slip up, though, and the whole 7 years can come down on her at once. And then the dad, Nathaniel Sr., was charged with the exact same crime as his wife. But the case ended very differently. He pleaded guilty, and instead of a deferred sentence, he got 5 years in actual prison. The son, Nathaniel Jr., was charged with incests, and unlike his mom and dad, he didn't get to post bond and go home and wait. He sat inside the Oklahoma County Detention Center throughout the court process. He pleaded guilty in October of 2025, the first of the three to have his case closed, and he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. As for the two people in this story who never did anything wrong, the young woman and her baby were taken out of that household completely and placed in the custody of DHS. It doesn't undo what was done, but the cycle finally stopped, and she has a chance to heal somewhere far from the people who had caused so much harm. When the case hit the internet, a lot of people believed there was something more sinister going on, and they filled the gaps with the worst thing that they could imagine. And the version that took hold in most people's heads went like this: a predatory father and his son, a disabled daughter who couldn't fight back or tell a soul, a man who got his own child pregnant, and then, sensing a paternity test coming, started frantically searching for ways to beat it. In that telling, the daughter naming her father wasn't a coached mistake. It was the truth leaking out. The phone searches weren't about shielding someone else. They were about shielding himself. And the mother was the enabler wife who knew exactly what her husband was doing and chose him over her child. It's as clean as it is horrifying, and it fits every instinct you have about how a case like this is supposed to go. Forum threads were filled with people demanding the father be charged with rape and molestation. One commentary show said it flatly, on repeat as a settled fact, that the father was messing with his daughter. There was just one problem with all of it. That version was not supported by the evidence. Starting with the DNA, it didn't just point away from the father, it ruled him out completely. He was not the biological parent of that baby, and that's not a theory or someone's opinion. It's a lab result. Then look at what the police actually concluded. After working the entire case, they determined that the father had never had a sexual relationship with his daughter, and that the story that pointed the finger at him fell apart. And then there's the part that should put this to bed for good. The people who charged this family weren't going off a rumor or a thread on some forum. The prosecutors had everything, from the full case file to the phone with those searches still on it and the DNA. Every last interview, they saw all of it, and when they decided what to charge the father with, there was not one sexual offense on that list. Just child neglect. People with intellectual and developmental disabilities are among the most victimized people in this country, and almost no one talks about it. I want to give you real numbers here from the Bureau of Justice Statistics' most recent comprehensive report on this. People with disabilities were the victims of 26% of all non-fatal violent crime in this country, while making up only about 12% of the population. The rate of violence against them was nearly 4 times the rate for people without them. And among all the disability types the BJS measured, people with cognitive disabilities had it worse than any other group. And here's the statistic that relates most to the Molden case. According to that same BJS report, only 19% of rapes and sexual assaults against people with disabilities were reported to the police. Sit with that in the context of this family. The entire criminal theory against these parents was that they caught the abuse and didn't report it. And the data says that that's not an anomaly. The Molden household, in its silence, was doing the statistically ordinary thing. The reason we know about this case at all is the rare exception when a hospital worker refused to let it go. For every case that starts with that phone call, the numbers suggest that there are others where no one ever picks up the phone. There was a major piece of journalism for this, an NPR investigative series called Abused and Betrayed, that dug into the epidemic of sexual violence against people with intellectual disabilities. The theme of that reporting was that the people who harm disabled victims are very often the people closest to them: caregivers, family, the exact people a society assumes are the safety net. Before we close, the loose threads and unanswered questions. What happened to the other daughter? We can't help but wonder whether she was also a victim or removed simply as a precaution. The reports never say. They may be the most important people in this story whom we know nothing about. Why did the mother's story blame the father when the father wasn't the biological match? Was she steering blame away from the son? Was it a genuine mistaken suspicion of her own husband? Or was it something else? One thing was for sure, though. She applied for divorce days before the court's verdict. How long did the abuse actually go on, given that the brother's account has probably shrunk down from the truth by at least a couple of years? And the baby. What happened to the child at the center of all of this? Were they kept somewhere in the family system? Placed for adoption? Something else? It's unreported. And honestly, it may be the one question we don't get to answer, but we should all be a little relieved that they are at least away from such an environment.